In my life, I've lived in 16 houses. I've lived in a country cottage near Geraldine, beside a pinball machine in a basement in Saginaw, Michigan, and in a flat in Palmerston North where one room was filled with sand. All my houses have been old, and more often than not, dark and outdated. They were layered in ancient wallpapers that needed to be stripped back, taken off their dusty scrim, covered in gibboard, and repapered in fresher, brighter colours. I first understood what history was when I was about 8, 9 or 10, because as the golden red ferns of the hallway wallpaper that Mum hated so much fell down, they began to reveal the true topography of our house. Layer upon layer of papers were pasted on top of sheets of newspaper, dating from about 1910. And it was then I understood what history was. And it wasn't about the thrice yearly visits that our school made to the Southland Museum to see the dioramas, the recreations and tuataras. And it wasn't about some abstract retelling by Grandad of famous shipwrecks off the New Zealand coast, which pretty much meant nothing to me. History was in the walls of my home. It was in the wallpaper that had silently watched and recorded our family and all the families that had lived in our house before us. It was the wallpaper who had seen our births, marriages, and deaths, and those of all the families that had lived in our house before us. Wallpaper, far from just being a vibrant streak in an otherwise dark villa, is a recorder of ordinary, everyday household activities. The kind of activities that seem so normal at the time when they're happening, but are fascinating in years to come. It is rare to find wallpaper in museum collections for just this reason. People don't think to save wallpaper because it's so much a part of everyday life. It's everyday. It's never saved for best, like the silverware or the best tablecloth or the best dinner set. Wallpaper is ephemeral. It's used every day. It's pasted over and over until it's forgotten. Wallpaper is fragile. It's the background of our memories, a feeling or a mood. It's the thing that is always seen but rarely noticed. When wallpaper was invented, it replaced heavy tapestries which were hung in houses for colour as well as warmth. Some people said that by replacing the secure and long-lasting tapestries with something that was fragile, wallpaper was essentially a style over substance situation. Manufacturing made wallpapers cheap and quick decorating solutions. The Victorian era was a grand time for wallpaper, as rooms are highly decorated in bright, often garish colours, with chrysanthemums and cabbage roses adorning almost every home. And as Janet Frame wrote in Owls Do Cry, there seemed to be a rule everywhere that roses do not grow in gardens anymore, but upon tablecloths and cushions and fire screens and hearthrugs. The 1920s, which was known as the golden age of wallpaper, saw about 400 million rolls of the stuff sold. Our family's golden age of wallpaper came about 60 years too late in the 1980s. Dad spent hours lining up the pasted flowers of liberty, mixing and matching complex patterns to ensure a neat finish. But sadly for Dad, he learnt too late that you should never wallpaper the bathroom because the steam lifts the paper straight back off. I learnt from those late nights and endless weekends that to create a thing of beauty like a wallpapered wall was a curse, a task that required patience and perseverance, but one that would be rewarded with perfection. And I learnt from Dad if a job was worth doing, it was worth doing right. I also learnt exactly how many times Dad had to say bloody bastard while hanging wallpaper before it was best to go and find something else to do with the weekend. And for me, that something else was usually drawing in my room. At university, as Kirk said, I studied fine arts, majoring in printmaking, and spent much of my time creating editions of prints inspired by William Morris and Florence Broadhead, my own wallpaper icons. Today, I still make my own wood block prints, but now I do it on the weekends. And I hold it as one of my greatest hopes in the world that one day I'll print my own wallpaper range too. So that my roses and fantails and chrysanthemums and tuis may be pasted up and will also record ordinary everyday histories, and that one day they'll be papered over and forgotten to be found 100 years later by some small girl learning what history is. And I think Oscar Wilde says it best.